words of our Divine Mother from the book The Mother, Question and Answers of 1956, Volume 8. This is from page number 122, and the topic is asking the Divine for what one needs. Question to the Mother. Sweet Mother, if one needs something like a mother's affection or some help, how can one feel it in the Divine according to one's need? Mother says, what exactly do you want to say? For that, the sadhak says, if for example one wants to know something or one needs guidance or something else, how can one have it from the Divine according to one's need? For this question, our Divine Mother says, by asking the Divine for it. If you do not ask Him, how can you have it? If you turn to the Divine and have full trust and ask Him, He will get what you need, not necessarily what you imagine you need, but the true thing you need. You will get it, but you must ask Him for it. You must make the experiment sincerely. You must not endeavor to get it by all sorts of external means and then expect the Divine to give it to you without even having asked Him. Indeed, when you want somebody to give you something, you ask Him for it, don't you? And why do you expect the Divine to give it to you without you having asked Him for it? In the ordinary consciousness, the moment is just the opposite. You assume something saying, I need this relationship, I need this affection, I need this knowledge, etc. Well, the Divine ought to give it to me, otherwise He is not the Divine. That is to say, you reverse the problem completely. First of all, you say, I need. Do you know whether you truly need it or whether it is only an impression you have or a desire or quite an ignorant moment? First point, you know nothing about it. Second point, it is precisely your own will that you want to impose upon the Divine, telling Him, I need this, and then you don't even ask Him for it. Give it to me, you say, I need it. Therefore, since I need it, it must come to me quite naturally and spontaneously. It is the Divine's job to give it to me, all that I need. But if it so happens that truly you don't know what you need, it is merely an illusion and not a truth, and that into that bargain you ask it from life around you, and you don't turn to the Divine. You don't create any relationship between yourself and the Divine. You don't even think of Him. You don't even turn to the Divine, at least with some sincerity in your attitude, and then you ask nothing from Him. There is no reason for the Divine to give you anything at all. But if you ask Him, as He is the Divine, He knows a little better than what you need. He will give you what you need. Or else, if you insist and want to impose your own will, He may give you what you want in order to enlighten you and make you conscious of your mistake, that it was truly not the thing that you needed. And then you begin to protest. I don't mean you personally, I'm speaking of all human beings. And you say, why has the Divine given me something which has harmed me? Completely forgetting that it was you who has asked for it. In both cases, you protest all the same. If He gives you what you ask and then that brings you more harm than good, then you protest again. And again, if He doesn't give it, you also protest saying, what? I told the Divine that I needed it, but He never gave it to me. Says our Divine Mother. Our Divine Mother says, in both the cases you protest, and the poor Divine is accused either way. Only if instead of all that, you simply have an aspiration within you, an urge, an intense ardent need to find that Divine which you conceive more or less clearly to be the truth of your being, the source of all things, the supreme good, the answer to all that we desire, the solutions to all our problems. If there is this intense need in you, and you aspire to realize it, you won't any longer say to the Divine, give me this or give me that. I need this or I must have that. You will tell him, do what is necessary for me and lead me to the truth of my being. Give me that, though in thy supreme wisdom sees it as the thing I need. And then you are sure of not being mistaken. And he will not give you something which will definitely harms you. He will never do that. There is still a higher step. But it's a little more difficult to begin with that. But the first one is already a much truer approach than that of telling the divine, I need this, give it to me. For indeed, very few people really know what they need, very few. And the proof of it is that they are always in the pursuit of fulfillment of their desires. And all their effort is bent upon that. And each time one of the desires is fulfilled, they are still disappointed. And then they pass on to the another. And after much seeking, making many mistakes, suffering a great deal, being very disappointed, and then sometimes one begins to grow wise and wonders if there isn't a way out of all this, that is to say, a way to come out of one's own ignorance. And it is then at that moment that one can do this. Mother opens her arms and says, here I am, take me, lead me to the true path. When you say to the divine, here I am, take me, lead me to the true path, along the true path, then all begins to go well, says our Divine Mother. Next question in page number 195, one sadhak says, it is said, follow your soul and not your mind which leaps at appearances. How to practice this, sweet mother, in everyday's life? For that our Divine Mother says, why? What is the problem? What is the difficulty? And then the sadhak says, sweet mother, how to put this advice into practice, this recommendation to follow one's soul and not the mind? For this our Divine Mother says, this is purely an individual matter. The first condition is to receive inspirations from the soul, exactly what we just were speaking about. For if one does not receive them, how can one follow one's soul? The first condition is to be a little conscious of one's soul and receive its inspirations. Then naturally it goes without saying that one must obey them instead of obeying the reasoning intellect. But how to do it? By what method? This is something purely personal. Each one must find his own method. The principle is that if one wants to apply it, for each one the method is definitely different, because all individuals are not the same. It all depends on the extent to which one is conscious of the inspirations from the soul, on the degree of identifying with it, and one has it. So one can't have the same remedy for everybody. Is that all? Next question on page 197. Sweet mother, what should be done to remember the mother constantly? Should one repeat her name, remember her physical form, or think her or feel that she is the divine? Is gratitude for the divine a form of remembrance? For this our Divine Mother says, all is good and many other things are good too, and it depends on what each one can do. It is a little too personal a question, isn't it? It depends on each one. It is the same thing. If one generalizes it, makes it no sense any longer. To remember, you must not forget. That's it. Next question on page number 211. Sweet mother, it is said that if one sees a shooting star and that moment one aspires for something, that aspiration is fulfilled within the year. Is that true? For that our Divine Mother says, do you know what that means? The aspiration must be formulated during the time the star is visible. And that does not last long, does it? Well, if an aspiration can be formulated while the star is visible, this means that it is all the time there, present in the forefront of the consciousness. This does not apply to ordinary things. It has nothing to do with that. It concerns a spiritual aspiration. But the point is that if you're able to articulate your spiritual aspiration just at the moment, it means that it is right in front of your consciousness, that it dominates your consciousness. And necessarily what dominates your consciousness can be realized very swiftly. I had the opportunity to make this experiment, exactly this. The moment the star was passing, at that very moment, they sprang up of my consciousness to realize the divine union for my body. And that's very moment, before the end of the year, it was done. But it was not because of the star, it was because that dominated my whole consciousness. I was thinking of nothing but that. I wanted the union with the divine. And I wanted only that, and that acted only for that. So the thing is that what generally takes a whole lifetime, it is said the minimum time is 35 years. Before 12 months has passed, it has done. But that was because I only thought of it. And it was because I was thinking only of that. That's just when the star flashed by, I could formulate it. Not merely a vague impression, formulated in a precise words like this. To realize union with the divine, the inner divine, the thing we speak of, the very thing we speak of. Therefore, what is important is not the star but the aspiration. The star is like an outer demonstration, nothing else. But it is not necessary to have a shooting star in order to realize swiftly. What is necessary is that the whole will of the being should be concentrated on one point. And that is more important. These are the golden words of our Divine Mother.
दशवक्त्रा दशभुजा दशपादाञ्जनप्रभा विशालया राजमाना त्रिंशल्लोचनमालया स्फुरद्दशनत्रंष्ट्रा सा भीमरूपा विभूमिप रूपसौभाग्यकान्तीनां सा प्रतिष्ठा महाश्रिया एषा सा वैष्णवी माया महाकाली दुरत्यया आराधिता वशीकुर्यात् पूजा कर्तुश्चरा